Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. Some conversations echo in your mind long after they end, replaying on an endless loop until you wonder if you actually heard what you think you heard. My wife Whitney gave me one of those conversations on an ordinary Wednesday in late September, and it changed the entire foundation of our marriage. We were sitting at our kitchen table in our Lincoln Avenue condo, having what I thought was a normal dinner. I had made lasagna, Whitney's favorite, the recipe I had perfected over the years because she used to smile every time I served it. I had set the table properly, opened a bottle of wine, even put on some music in the background. I was hoping to create a moment where we could actually connect, where she might look at me the way she used to. She was scrolling through her phone while picking at her food, which had become her standard routine over the past year. Her fork would move mechanically from plate to mouth while her eyes stayed glued to the screen. I might as well have been eating alone. I had just finished telling her about a project at work, a significant achievement that I was proud of. She had not looked up once. So I tried a different approach. I was thinking, I said, setting down my own fork. We could take a weekend trip to Wisconsin for our anniversary. 6 years seems worth celebrating. The fall colors should be beautiful right now, and there's that bed and breakfast you mentioned loving a few years ago. She made a non-committal sound, still scrolling. Whit, could you maybe put the phone down for dinner? I asked gently. She looked up with an expression I had never seen before. Cold, irritated, like I had asked her to donate a kidney instead of just giving me 20 minutes of attention. You know what, Ben? She said, setting her fork down with deliberate precision. I'm really tired of this. I paused mid-bite, genuinely confused. Tired of what? This constant expectation that I need to perform for you. That I owe you my time, my attention, my energy. She leaned forward slightly, and I could see she had been thinking about this for a while. You're not entitled to anything from me. The words hit me like cold water. I just wanted us to have dinner together. See? This is what I mean. Her voice had that edge of long-suppressed frustration. I work hard all day. I don't owe you conversation. I don't owe you a romantic anniversary trip. I don't owe you anything. We're married, not merged. I'm my own person. I set my fork down slowly, trying to process what I was hearing. Is that really how you feel? That you don't owe me anything? Yes. She said it with complete certainty. I'm not your entertainment. I'm not responsible for managing your feelings. You need to figure out how to be happy on your own instead of making it my job. I sat there in silence, watching her return to her phone like she had just delivered a weather report instead of essentially declaring us roommates instead of partners. The lasagna I had spent an hour making suddenly tasted like cardboard in my mouth. She finished eating in silence, then wandered off to the bedroom to catch up on work, leaving me alone with the dishes and a head full of thoughts I could not turn off. As I loaded the dishwasher, I replayed her exact words. You're not entitled to anything from me. The complete certainty in her voice. The casual way she had dismissed 6 years of marriage vows and 8 years of building a life together. That night, as she slept peacefully beside me, apparently unburdened by our conversation, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. She had drawn a line in the sand, thinking she was establishing her independence. What she had actually done was hand me a roadmap for mine. If she owed me nothing, then by the same logic, I owed her nothing. Not my time, not my attention, not my labor, not my care. Nothing whatsoever. By morning, I had made a decision that would change both of our lives. She wanted to redefine our marriage? Fine. But she was about to learn that redefinitions work both ways. I woke up the next morning with perfect clarity. Whitney had established the rules. No obligations, no expectations, complete independence within marriage. Well, two could play that game. I started small. Instead of making coffee for both of us like I had every morning for 6 years, I made exactly 1 cup. Mine. When she stumbled into the kitchen expecting her usual morning routine, she found an empty coffee maker and me reading the news on my phone. Did you forget something? She asked, pointing at the coffee maker. I looked up from my phone with genuine confusion. I don't think so. What did I forget? My coffee. Oh, that. I took a sip from my mug. Well, making your coffee would mean I feel entitled to your gratitude, or that you owe me something in return. But you were clear yesterday that we don't owe each other anything. So I'm just respecting your boundaries. She stared at me for a long moment, her mouth slightly open. Are you being serious right now? Completely serious. You were very clear about the new arrangement. I'm just following your lead. She shook her head and muttered something under her breath while making her own coffee. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, but she was not quite ready to admit she might have miscalculated. I felt surprisingly calm. For the first time in years, I was not anxiously trying to anticipate her needs or manage her moods. I was simply living according to the rules she had established. It was liberating. That Saturday, I went grocery shopping. For myself only. I took my time at the store, carefully selecting exactly what I wanted without considering her preferences at all. No more buying two different types of yogurt because she liked one and I liked another. No more grabbing her favorite granola bars or the specific brand of almond milk she preferred. Just my stuff. I came home with one bag instead of my usual cart full of food for both of us. Whitney looked up from her laptop as I unpacked. She had been working on something, probably scrolling through social media based on the guilty way she minimized the window. Where's the rest? This is my food. You're not entitled to me buying your groceries. This is ridiculous, Ben. We always shop together. Actually, I always shop for both of us. You just eat the food. But since we don't owe each other anything, it makes sense for us to handle our own provisions. I opened the spare bedroom and brought out the mini fridge I had ordered. It was small, white, and fit perfectly in the corner of what had been my home office. I'll keep my food in here to avoid confusion. Her eyes widened. You bought a fridge for your food? When did you even order that? A couple days ago. Amazon same-day delivery is convenient for independent people managing their own households. We have one household, do we? Or do we have two independent people who happen to share a living space? I started transferring my groceries to the mini fridge, making a show of organizing everything neatly. I watched her face cycle through several emotions as she processed what this meant. Disbelief, anger, confusion. No more opening the fridge to find it stocked with everything she needed. No more casually eating whatever looked good without thinking about who bought it. From now on, if she wanted food, she would have to plan, shop, and pay for it herself. But she could not argue with her own logic, and we both knew it. Over the next few days, I systematically removed myself from every small gesture that had become routine. When Whitney tried to vent to me about a difficult client, I said, "That sounds stressful," and returned to my book. "That's it?" she asked, frustrated. "That's all you're going to say? I'm not entitled to the details of your work life, and you're not entitled to my emotional labor in processing it. You were clear about that." "I wasn't talking about work stuff. I meant," she trailed off, seemingly unable to articulate what she actually meant. Later that week, when she assumed I would attend her friend Melissa's birthday party with her, I informed her I had made plans to meet my college friend Derek, who was visiting Chicago. "But I told her you'd be there," Whitney protested. "You always come to these things." "I came because I thought we were partners who supported each other's social obligations. But under the new framework, I'm not obligated to attend your friend's events. You're certainly not entitled to my time." She went alone, and I could see the discomfort on her face as she left. The beauty of it was that I was not being cruel or vindictive. I was just applying her own logic consistently. And with each passing day, she was getting more agitated. By the end of the second week, she was openly frustrated. "You're being weird," she announced one evening as I prepared dinner for exactly one person. "Weird how? You're acting like we're roommates or something." I paused in my cooking and looked at her thoughtfully. Roommates who split bills and share living space, but have no emotional obligations to each other. Yeah, that's pretty accurate actually. That's not what I meant when I said what I said. Really? Because you were pretty specific. You said I'm not entitled to anything from you. I believed you. I respected your position, and now I'm living accordingly. She was quiet for a moment, watching me plate my single portion of pasta. "Are you making enough for both of us?" "Nope, just me. But there's plenty of ingredients if you want to make your own." "This is ridiculous." "Is it? You established that we don't owe each other anything. I'm just being consistent with your framework." That night, she tried a different approach. She attempted to initiate a conversation about our relationship, probably expecting me to apologize and beg for things to go back to normal. But within 2 minutes, she was complaining that I didn't understand her needs and making it about my failures rather than her declaration. I listened to her circular reasoning for exactly 3 minutes before saying, "I understand you might be having second thoughts, but I actually think your original position was brilliant. This no-obligation thing is incredibly liberating. I should have thought of it years ago. The look on her face was priceless. She had expected anger, pleading, maybe even threats to leave. She had not expected enthusiastic agreement. "You're doing this to punish me," she said. "Punish you for what? You didn't do anything wrong. You just clarified the terms of our relationship. I'm grateful for the clarity, honestly. But this isn't how marriage is supposed to work." I almost laughed. "According to who? You just spent last week telling me exactly how our marriage works. No obligations, no expectations, complete independence. I'm just the slow learner catching up to your enlightened perspective." She got even more frustrated and went to bed early without another word. By the third week, the practical implications were becoming impossible for her to ignore. The electric bill arrived in her name. She handed it to me automatically. "Can you handle this?" "Is this my bill?" I asked. "It's our bill." "If it's our bill, we should each pay half. But actually, it's in your name, so it's your bill. You should handle it." "You've always paid the utilities," she protested. "Because I felt obligated to make things easy for you. But you've established we don't have those obligations." She stood there holding the bill, frustration written across her face. The next weekend, she discovered that Netflix, Hulu, and our Spotify family plan were no longer working. "What happened to Netflix?" She called from the living room. "I canceled the shared accounts. If you want those services, you'll need to subscribe yourself." She appeared in the doorway. "This is insane. We're married. Married people who don't owe each other anything. Your words, not mine. Why should I fund your entertainment when you're not entitled to my resources? The cost difference is negligible. Then you won't have trouble paying for it yourself." I watched her grapple with the reality that she had been taking my financial contributions for granted. All those little subscriptions and services I paid for. All the times I picked up the tab without keeping score. All of it had been invisible to her until it was gone. The real test came on a Tuesday afternoon. Her car would not start in the parking lot at her office. She called me, clearly expecting immediate rescue. "My car won't start. Dead battery, I think." "That's unfortunate. You should call AAA." There was a pause. "You're 5 minutes away. Just come help me." Helping you would imply I'm obligated to solve your problems. "Have you considered calling a rideshare home and dealing with the car tomorrow?" "I can't believe you're doing this." Her voice was tight with anger and something else. Maybe fear. "I'm just respecting the boundaries you established. You're capable of handling this yourself." She hung up on me. I later learned she called AAA, waited 90 minutes, and missed her evening plans with friends. I felt a twinge of guilt, but I reminded myself, she created this dynamic, not me. By week 4, I knew it was time to address the financial situation more comprehensively. I opened a separate checking account at a different bank entirely, one she would have no access to. I redirected my direct deposit. Then I sat down with a spreadsheet and calculated exactly half of our shared expenses. Mortgage, $2,400. My half, $1,200. HOA fees, $350. My half, $175. Home insurance, $180. My half, $90. Utilities averaged out, $220. My half, $110. I set up automatic payments from my new account for my portion and left a detailed spreadsheet on the kitchen counter, printed out with highlighted sections showing the breakdown. Whitney found it that evening when she came home from work. She was still in her blazer, her work bag slung over one shoulder. She picked up the paper and stared at it. "What is this?" "Financial reorganization. Since we're independent entities, we should have independent finances. I'm covering exactly half of our shared living expenses. Everything else is separate. You can't just unilaterally change our bank accounts." Her voice was rising. "You unilaterally changed our relationship dynamic. I'm adapting to it." She stared at the numbers, and I could see her doing the mental math. I used to cover roughly 60 to 70% of our discretionary spending. Groceries, dinners out, entertainment, little extras. She had been benefiting from my income without even realizing it because it all just appeared in the joint account and disappeared just as smoothly. "This isn't fair," she said quietly, her finger tracing down the columns. "We've always pooled resources. You make more than me. I make $95,000. You make $88,000. That's not a huge disparity. And we pooled resources when we were partners. Partners have obligations to each other. You rejected that model. But what about groceries? Gas? My car payment? What about them? How am I supposed to pay for all of that? The same way every other independent adult does. You budget. You prioritize. You make choices. I gestured to the spreadsheet. I've broken down what you owe for shared expenses. The rest is your responsibility to manage. By early October, the financial strain was becoming impossible for her to ignore. She tried to discuss our household budget one evening. I have a household budget, I said, for my household expenses. Your expenses are yours to budget. We live in the same household. We share a living space. That doesn't create financial obligation. You were very clear about that. 3 weeks after that Wednesday dinner, the day of our 6th wedding anniversary arrived. October 14th. 6 years ago, we had stood in front of our friends and family and promised to love and cherish each other. I remembered her smile that day, the way she had looked at me like I was her entire world. I remembered believing we would always feel that way. I made no plans for this anniversary. That evening, Whitney emerged from the bedroom wearing a nice dress, the blue one I had always told her looked beautiful. Her hair was done. She had put on makeup. For a moment, she looked like the woman I had married. "So what are we doing tonight?" she asked, and there was something hopeful in her voice that made my chest ache. "I'm ordering Thai food and watching the Cubs game. You're free to do whatever you'd like." The hope died in her eyes. "It's our anniversary. An anniversary celebrates a partnership. You've made it clear we're not partners in the traditional sense. We're independent people sharing space." Her face crumpled. She looked down at her dress, at the effort she had put in, and I saw the exact moment she understood. "You're being deliberately hurtful. I'm being deliberately consistent. There's a difference." "Ben, please." Her voice cracked. "Can we just have one normal night? What's normal about pretending we're something we're not? You told me you don't owe me anything. You meant it. So let's not play dress up and pretend otherwise." She stood there for another moment, then turned and went back to the bedroom. The door closed softly behind her, which somehow felt worse than if she had slammed it. I heard her crying through the door, muffled sobs that she was trying to keep quiet. Part of me wanted to go comfort her. Part of me wanted to say forget it. Let's go to dinner. Let's pretend everything is fine. But a larger part of me thought about all the times I had reached out for connection, for intimacy, for basic acknowledgement, only to be met with her phone screen and her disinterest. All the small deaths of being ignored, dismissed, told that wanting her attention was unreasonable. This hurt her. Good. Maybe it needed to. I ordered my Thai food from the place on Lincoln Avenue that we used to go to together. I watched my game, and I felt profoundly sad, not triumphant. This was not fun for me. It was necessary, but it was not fun. The following weekend, Whitney tried something new. She initiated physical intimacy for the first time in 6 weeks. She wore lingerie I had bought her for her birthday, approached me with what she probably thought was a seductive smile. "I appreciate the gesture," I said, "but I'm not interested tonight." She looked genuinely shocked. "What? Why not?" Physical intimacy creates expectations of emotional connection and mutual obligation. You've specifically rejected those concepts. That's not. We're married. Married people are intimate. According to whom? You established that you're not obligated to satisfy me. The reverse is equally true. I'm not obligated to satisfy you. This is completely different. How so? Please explain the logical distinction. She could not. She got angry instead. "You're punishing me. I'm respecting boundaries. Your boundaries. Applied consistently." That night, I slept in the spare bedroom. It felt symbolic somehow. The next social test came at our friends Brett and Julie's dinner party. We went together, but I did not play the role of devoted husband. When Julie asked about our anniversary, I said, "We kept it low-key this year." When Brett asked about holiday plans, I said, "I haven't decided yet." Whitney's plans are her own. Our friends exchanged glances. The tension between us was obvious. On the drive home, Whitney finally spoke. "You embarrassed me tonight." I was honest. If our relationship status embarrasses you, that's worth examining. By the end of week 8, Whitney was visibly struggling, managing her own life, her own finances, her own emotional regulation, all without the invisible support system I had provided for years. She was exhausted. One Wednesday evening, she made an elaborate dinner, set the table nicely, lit candles. When I came home, the whole scene was clearly designed to reset our dynamic. "I made your favorite," Pot roast. That's thoughtful of you. Why? Can't I do something nice for my husband? You can do whatever you want. But I already ate. I stopped at Lou Mitchell's on the way home. Her face fell. You're being deliberately difficult. I'm being independent. I didn't know you were cooking because you're not entitled to my schedule, and I'm not entitled to yours. Remember? This is ridiculous. I'm trying here. Are you? Or are you trying to reset things without addressing what you said? She had no answer for that. In week 9, everything came to a head. Whitney had a terrible day. Her best friend canceled plans due to a family emergency. She lost a major client pitch at work. She came home to an empty condo because I was at the gym. When I returned, she was crying on the couch. I noticed, but did not rush to comfort her. Are you all right? I asked from the doorway. No, I'm not all right. Everything is falling apart. What happened? She explained her day through tears. When she finished, I said, that does sound difficult. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. Then I went to put away my gym bag. That's it. Her voice was incredulous. That's all you're going to say? What else would you like me to say? I want you to care. I want you to actually be my husband. I am your husband legally. But you established we're not partners emotionally. Partners help each other through hard times. Independent people handle their own struggles. Okay, fine. She stood up, wiping her eyes. Can we talk? Really talk? I sat down on the opposite end of the couch. Of course. What would you like to talk about? This whole thing. What you've been doing for the past 2 months. You mean living according to your stated philosophy? It wasn't a philosophy. I was just frustrated that night. Frustrated about what specifically? She struggled to articulate it. I don't know. Work was stressful. I felt like you were always wanting something from me. What was I wanting? Your attention, your affection, your participation in my life. That's called being married, Whitney. It felt like pressure. And now? How does it feel now? Lonely, she whispered. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked, when you said I'm not entitled to anything from you, did you mean it? It came out wrong. That's not what I asked. Did you mean it? She looked down at her hands. In that moment, yes. Thank you for being honest. Can you tell me why you felt that way? Because I felt like I was drowning. Work is demanding. My boss expects availability around the clock. And then I'd come home and you'd want to talk, want to connect, want to plan things. It felt like I had no space for myself. Did you ever communicate that to me? Before that dinner? I tried to hint. Hints aren't communication. If you needed space, you could have said, Ben, I need more alone time to decompress. Instead, you told me I'm not entitled to basic partnership. I know I handled it badly. This isn't about handling it badly. This is about what you actually believe about our marriage. She was quiet, so I continued. Do you know what I learned these past 2 months? I asked. She shook her head. I learned that I've been doing the work of 2 people in this relationship. I've been managing your happiness, your comfort, your life admin, your emotional needs. And you've been taking all of that for granted while giving almost nothing back. That's not true. I work hard. I contribute financially. Financially, yes. Emotionally? Practically? When was the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? When did you last plan something for us? When did you last handle a household problem without asking me to fix it? She started to answer, then stopped. She could not think of examples. Let me help you, I said. The leaking faucet in the bathroom last month. Who fixed it? The issue with our HOA about the parking spot. Who handled that? Your mother's birthday gift. Who bought it and wrapped it and made sure it got sent on time? When your car needed an oil change, who scheduled it? When we ran low on toilet paper or dish soap or laundry detergent, who noticed and restocked it? With each question, she looked more uncomfortable. The worst part wasn't what you said, I told her. It was how casually you said it. Like you'd been thinking it for years and finally found the courage to let me know how little I matter to you. You matter to me. Do I? Because someone who matters doesn't get told that their basic emotional needs are unreasonable burdens. Someone who matters doesn't get dismissed when they try to have a conversation over dinner. Someone who matters doesn't have to beg for 20 minutes of undivided attention. Tears were running down her face now. I didn't realize. I swear. Ben, I didn't realize what I was doing. That's the problem. You didn't realize because you never had to think about it. Everything just worked. The fridge was always full. The bills were always paid. The house was always clean. Your life was always smooth, and you never once stopped to wonder who was making it that way. We talked for another hour. She apologized, but it felt surface level, like she was sorry for the consequences, not sorry for the belief system that created them. A few days later, she asked for another conversation. This time, she seemed more prepared. I was wrong, she said without preamble. About everything. About what I said. About how I've been treating you. About taking you for granted. I appreciate you saying that. I don't know when I became someone who could say something so cruel to the person I love. I think I got comfortable. I stopped seeing you as a person with needs. You were just there. Solid. Reliable. And I started resenting that reliability instead of appreciating it. Why did you resent it? Because it made me feel guilty. She was crying now. Every time you did something nice, every time you asked about my day, every time you tried to connect, it reminded me that I wasn't doing the same. Instead of stepping up, I pulled back. Instead of matching your effort, I convinced myself you were being demanding. It was the most honest thing she had said in months. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need complete honesty. Okay, do you actually want to be married to me? Not financially married, not legally married. Actually married. Partners who care about each other's well-being and happiness. She took a long time to answer. I don't know how to be that person anymore. I think I do want it, but I'm scared I'm too selfish to sustain it. At least you're being honest. What do you want? She asked. I want a partner. I want someone who sees caring for me as a joy, not a burden. I want someone who values my presence instead of taking it for granted. But I don't know if you're capable of being that person. We sat with that truth between us. Over the next few weeks, Whitney tried. Really tried. She started therapy and actually told me about it. She began taking on household tasks without being asked. She listened when I talked. She planned a date at the Italian restaurant in the Millennium Park area where we had our first date. I went, but I remained guarded. I know this doesn't fix anything, she said over dinner. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. I see that you're trying. Time will tell if it's sustainable. The following week, she had a bad day at work and snapped at me for leaving dishes in the sink. Then she caught herself mid-sentence. I'm sorry. That was unfair. I'm stressed about work, but that's not your fault. I appreciate you catching that. This is harder than I thought it would be, she admitted. Change is hard. Especially changing patterns that served you well. They didn't serve me well. I lost my marriage. You haven't lost it yet, but you're right that it's at risk. I met my friend Alex for beers one evening in mid-December. He asked the question I had been asking myself. So what are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to believe she's really changing, but part of me wonders if I can ever trust her again. Do you still love her? I thought about it. I love who she used to be. Who she is now? I'm not sure I know her well enough to answer that. That's honest. I keep thinking about what she said. You're not entitled to anything from me. Those words don't just disappear because she's sorry. I took her at her word, and she meant every syllable. Christmas came. Our first Christmas where the outcome of our marriage was genuinely uncertain. Whitney had bought thoughtful gifts, planned things. I had also prepared, but with emotional distance still firmly in place. We exchanged gifts on Christmas morning. She gave me a vintage watch I had mentioned wanting months ago. I thought she had not been listening. I gave her a spa day package and a book she had mentioned. She cried. You remembered. I always remember. That was never the problem. There was a moment of tenderness, but I still had not decided what came next. In early January, after New Year's, I asked her to sit down for a serious conversation. She looked terrified. I've been thinking a lot about where we go from here, I began. I know. So have I. You've made real changes these past few months. I see them. I appreciate them. But I need to know they're permanent. I need to know that the next time you're stressed or overwhelmed, you won't revert to seeing my needs as burdens. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I can promise I'll keep trying. I can promise I'll communicate instead of shutting down. And I can promise I'll never take you for granted again. Those are good promises, but I need you to understand something. What? I'm not the same person I was before this started. I won't go back to doing everything while you do nothing. I won't accept breadcrumbs of affection and call it love. I won't make myself small to make you comfortable. I don't want you to. Good. Because if we rebuild this, we're building something different. Equal partnership. Mutual effort. Real communication. What do you need from me to make this work? She asked. Consistency. Effort. Genuine care for my well-being, not just when it's convenient. And honesty. If you're overwhelmed, say so. If you need space, ask for it. Don't punish me for existing. I can do that. What else? I need you to accept that actions have consequences. You can't just say sorry and expect everything to reset. Trust is rebuilt slowly. I understand. And I need to know that you see me. Actually see me. Not as your support system or your household manager, but as a whole person with my own needs and feelings. I do see you. I'm sorry it took almost losing you to really look. 3 weeks later, we were cooking dinner together. Whitney chopping vegetables, me making sauce. We talked easily about our days. She asked about my project at work and actually engaged with my answer. I asked about her client meeting and listened to her concerns. After dinner, we did dishes together. Thank you for giving me another chance, she said quietly. Thank you for actually changing. Are we going to be okay? I think so. But we have to keep choosing each other. Every day? I can do that. So can I. We're not where we were before. That marriage died the night she told me I wasn't entitled to anything from her. But maybe that's not a bad thing. That marriage was unbalanced, unhealthy, unsustainable. This new marriage, if we can build it, will be different. More honest. More equal. I don't know if we'll make it. She might fall back into old patterns. I might discover I can't fully forgive her. But we're trying. Really trying. And that's more than we were doing before. She learned that boundaries apply in both directions. That independence without partnership is just loneliness. And I learned that love without self-respect isn't love at all. Whatever happens from here, I know I'll never again accept being treated as less than a full partner. That clarity, that self-respect, is mine to keep regardless of whether this marriage survives. For now, we're cooking dinner together. We're talking. We're trying. Tomorrow, we'll do it again. And the day after that. That's how you rebuild something broken. One day at a time. With no guarantees. With clear boundaries. With mutual effort. With both people finally understanding that marriage is an obligation. The most important obligation. The obligation to care. To show up. To choose each other. Not because you're entitled to it, but because that's what love actually means. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.